Hello guys, good evening. Welcome to this series. In this episode, guys, we will be looking at scenarios where we can now see the full parameters that you actually pass to this user here. So up until now, we've seen just how to pass get and how to pass the API endpoint. But what other criteria or parameters are still required? Well, I'm going to show you in a minute. But before we do that, really, because this one is log in as user, shall we not name this one as login as admin, something like that, so that it can reflect as admin here? That's what this test has done. So before we move on to that now, let's now create like a new one here. So this will be login. What are we now doing? So in this case, we're going to see all parameters. Let's say with all params .cy.tx here, press and enter. So actually I would copy all of this thing because there's no point actually just rewriting this test. But guys, what we just want to do simply is how to see all of other parameters. Yeah, you can continue passing all these other parameters, but when you want to feed in other parameters that are involved in this one now, the best thing to do really is to actually try to rewrite this. So to rewrite it is actually quite simple. So you just go here and do cy.intercept, and as it's intercepting, so we'll do intercept. Sorry, I can't type. As it's intercepting, so what we want to now do is that we want to now open up passing an object parameter here. So if you pass in an object parameter, it really likes it and he knows that you now want to specify those things you need. You then go ahead and just need to remove one. You now go ahead and say equals implies this and you get this. So just save and it will auto format itself. So now we've done that. Now simply just copy all of these ones because those are still valid. So I just put it here and just actually comment it, bring it back. So I've done that. Now the next thing we want to do, guys, is to actually this object parameter that we specified here is to actually just go and open it up. So once you open up this now, this will then begin to tell you the parameters that it can take. So the first thing it took there was the method. The method is the URL, is the method you call. In this case, we've been talking to get. The next thing it will take is actually the URL. So the URL in this context is /API/auth. I thought it was important to tell you that really it can take something called query if you have query things you're passing in the query. But I think the other one I like most is the hostname bit. So this hostname is actually important that you put it there. If you also have header that you really want to, that is really, really important to you, please pass in the header. There are other things like things like middleware. If you want to pass a middleware, just to say, oh, I want you to take a specific middleware, but those, and obviously you can pass in a body. Those are not important at the minute. So now we've done this now, the test will still carry on and run as C was running before. But what happens now is that I want to now improve this test because when this happens, this is now kind of confused. It doesn't know what else to do. So what it needs to do now is that it needs to do response, obviously. So we now say this is the header we pass to you, but we want you to respond back to us because previously it was easy for you to just say, oh, if you do this here, please respond to this. So it will automatically respond. But now you're passing this object here. You need to actually be a little bit pedantic and specify things you want. In this case, you now need to say, when the request happens, you need it to reply. You need to actually state out exactly what you needed to reply with. In this case, we were replying with Jennifer. So I'd like you to stick with Jennifer. So you can see this one is really simple sketch. But in this case, you're actually like writing out everything, line by line. I quite like this type because it is really clear exactly what you're doing and you can pass in more parameters and tweak things. I just have to warn you that when you're doing things on localhost, you don't need to actually specify the port, even though it says the host name. Like in this case, it would have been something like this 3000, but obviously it doesn't take the port. Just bear that in mind. Just pass the domain and then just pass the URL and the get. These three should really be enough at the minute. And once they are enough, you just go here, request, and then just be careful with all these open and close brackets and things like that flying around. So just take it as login, and then the test should really pass. This is passing with all the parameters. Let's have a look and see how this is actually just doing. So let's go here, let's go to this, and let's get into the spec, and then let's run this one and see what happens. There you go. So this beautiful lady is still coming out. You can see everything is still as it was before. Things are still passing. So if you right click again, I think it was already open. So if you go here, you see that the things are still passing. So that's credential. Then that's that. And this, if you go to response, it's still returning Jennifer. There you go. So that's it. Thank you guys. Please consider subscribing to my channel just to help me grow. Thank you.